would like to invite the three speakers back on stage for the panel discussion, along with Mr. Brian Wani, Senior Advisor, U.S. Department of Transport, Mr. Karvan Vijay Singh, Chief Executive Officer, Saif Maritime Dubai. And to moderate this session, I would like to invite Mr. Rizwan Rashid, Chief Executive Officer of BAS Logistics.
For the benefit of those who missed the first session, I would like to welcome everyone for the 6th Colombo International Maritime Logistic Trade and Maritime Logistic Conference 2022. This is, my name is Rizwan Rashid. I'll be moderating this session, and I wish to invite the participants from the audience, those who have listened to these 3 presentations. If you have any questions, please raise your hands. And we would like to make it an interesting session because it has been going on. There's a lot of presentations been going on. So there are mics around. If you could raise your hands a little higher, and you will be provided with the mic. Thank you. Any questions from the audience on the presentations which has been done by these 3 panelists? Okay. Our topic for this session is maritime transport beyond the ocean. And why is this topic, ladies and gentlemen? Katrina gave me a very good introduction about the challenges what they're having. The perfect storm of crisis is in the world as a trade dimension. And trade is the lifeblood of global economy. It is estimated to be $28.5 trillion in 2021, and it's going to be 7.7 trillion in the year 2022. And maritime logistic or maritime transport is an essential component in any program for sustainable development because the world relies on safe, secure, and efficient international shipping industry, and that's our forte. But there's a big downside to this, to the environment, which has been presented by all our speakers. To take us beyond the ocean, we have an eminent panel. You have listened to them. And I would like to ask Karvan on the first question, since I have to thank Karvan for taking time on a busy schedule. And Karvan, just tell me, how do you see this container shipping industry in the Indian subcontinent progressing in the next decade? And also highlighting on the Adani, there's going to be 2 competing transshipment hubs, Viscom and Colombo.
I suppose you directed your question about South, is it about the Indian subcontinent, right? Yeah. So, going forward, as a vessel operator or ship owner, vessel operator in the Indian subcontinent, how we see the progress in the next decade? Well, it all depends. The progress depends on the progress of the countries around in that region. So, by far, India is the leading driver of the area here, and I've just got some stats about India. They are the world's fastest growing large economy right now, and their exports have reached 418 billion in 21-22, and according to the World Trade Organization, according to their report in 2021, they say that India is assuming a major role in trade. Next, India's shipping sector is 95% of trading volume is and 70% of by value is done through maritime transport. So India is the 16th largest maritime nation in the world with a coastline of around 7,517 kilometers and has a merchant fleet of around 1,500 vessels. Now, this region also supports 80% of the global maritime oil trade And under the Sagarmala 2030 project, $82 billion will be invested by India on 1,537 projects. And also India has 12 major ports, 205 minor and intermediate ports, and they are also developing 6 mega ports right now, such as Visinjam, Kolachal in Tamil Nadu, Vadavan in Maharashtra, Tadadi in Karnataka, and so on. So this is where India is concerned. And then we have Bangladesh on the other side, which is also developing very fast. And there is a trade agreement which has been done between India and UAE, which will generate a lot of cargo movement in the region. And on top of that, there is a lot of trade, a lot of manufacturing moving from China towards Vietnam, India, and Bangladesh. So all these factors will help the shipping movements in the Indian subcontinent going forward. So this is how I see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kavan. The floor is open. Is there any question from the floor?
Yeah, good evening. I'm Anjan from Anjan Brahma from India. I'm CEO of ConMove, which basically is an organization that has a digital platform interconnecting all the stakeholders in the container logistics ecosystem. My question is essentially for shipping lines and hence Ms. Chakraborty. It's a business-related question. I know you're from the ESG group, but nevertheless. The question essentially is, in a country like Sri Lanka, which is relatively smaller in size as compared to where I come from, how are the lines managing, controlling the inland logistics in terms of better utilization of the vehicles that carry containers inland, right? And thereby, a related one is also, how does it manage the congestion at the port gates because of the huge queuing systems?
Would you like to take this?
It is from the lines, and that's why I said, so yeah, please.
Am I audible? Yeah. So I'll try and answer from what we are doing in India, and then because the plan is to replicate, of course, from a relatively seasoned experience on the basis of that, because we know how Sri Lankan situation has been. We just came out of COVID, and then we all know here. So in terms of optimization of landside transportation and ensuring efficiency linked to sustainability, we do have a transportation management system. And the focus is continuously to build upon that, not just to improve the operational efficiency, but also how we can capitalize on that for objectives of improving safety, security, as well as decarbonization goals. There's a significant use of digitization, telematics, basically GPS-enabled transportation. We have begun the journey, and therefore there's a long way to go. So in future, of course, our objective will be to kind of replicate similar kind of digitized options for us to manage transportation more efficiently. And if any of my co-panelists want to add to that.
Prem, I would like to contest on your presentation. Look, you had missed one important slide, if I'm not mistaken, on the cost analysis. And according to UNCTAD, easing trade costs, especially in maritime transport, have contributed to soaring on food and energy cost. And according to a few researchers, the logistic costs alone accounted for at least half of the rest in food prices. Do you agree on that? My question, if above as a trade dimension in this crisis, then the solution also must have a trade dimension. What's your take on this?
I believe this is in reference to the subject that I covered. True, I missed one important slide. If I included it, you would drag me out of the podium because I was already taking too much time. It's true, automation comes at a cost, right? So terminal developer naturally will spend something like 30% more than the traditional terminal developer in terms of capital cost. Based on the level of automation, can vary from 20 to 30%. But the recoups are coming from O&M, operations and management. Operation management costs can be lowered by a massive amount of 40 to 50%, again based on the level of automation, level of eliminating human intervention and inefficiency in the systems. Now this cost reduction naturally will be invested either in improving systems further and giving better turnaround to ships and the cargo owners, and also in increasing further investment in terminal capacity and also increasing profits so that terminal developers can stay in business. This part of this will be naturally passed down. I see three ways of getting this into the trade: by terminal developer making good profits and staying in business and improving its performance, which directly benefits the users. The land-side customers of importers and exporters will naturally get it because improved processing systems, introduction of digitalization and automated systems will eliminate many cost items. It will fluidly process the documentation, and it will eliminate delays, it will eliminate hidden costs, especially in reference to the South Asian situation. A lot of hidden costs borne by the trade. These will be eliminated with the digitalization and automation. And this is towards the land-side customer. Naturally, automation will improve productivity and turnaround time, which will benefit the shipping lines. And shipping lines, in turn, will be able to probably, I don't know whether they would decrease the freight, cannot expect, but they would reinvest in improving their services. So overall trade gains, terminal operators gain, shipping lines gain, the waterside customers and also landside customers gain out of this.
Yeah, I will come back to you on that, taking the West Coast case scenario in a while. Mayrika, shipping is the engine of international trade and the world economy. It is transporting about 11 billion tons of cargo each year across the ocean. And the world ocean, despite the environmental challenges, shipping also contributes more than 1 billion tons of CO2, which is more than aviation, more than Germany, and more than France, UK, and Italy combined. Are we seriously and deeply committed on decarbonization, or is it just a greenwashing?
Thank you for this question. I think it's very pertinent, especially in the context of this conference. Also, I'll share how the industry is collaborating first, from the Maersk perspective, because we are also partnering to those coalitions. So I have collaborated with Maersk, McKinney Moeller Center for Zero Carbon Shipping, which is essentially a leading and cutting-edge research and development center for zero carbon shipping, primarily focusing on the green fuels, which we are at a lower readiness levels right now, like green ammonia, etc. In addition to that, so there is a United Nations Global Compact Ocean Stewardship Coalition, which is again focusing solely on the cause of climate change and how do we drive the agenda together and collaborate more to come up with, to design solutions as well as we move. At the same time, to come up with policies and advocacies which will be conducive for achieving this. In terms of seriousness, as Maersk Growth is the venture capital arm of AP Moller Maersk, which has taken up a minority stake in startup technology firms, which are focusing on development of these sustainable fuels, primarily to ensure they are more abundantly available and more cost competitiveness. If I talk about Maersk strategy and the seriousness about it, we do not just go by the carbon emissions, the GHG emissions, and I will not say carbon dioxide emissions only, greenhouse gas emissions across the entire life cycle. So all the assessments and all the commitments that we are making are keeping in mind the life cycle emissions of the fuels that we consume. And it is only but necessary that we show our commitment, not just by saying what we are going to do by 2040. And that's where our intermittent goals are very important, because customers, consumers, our stakeholders are also wanting to know how do we want to achieve it. And that's where I feel by trying to respond to these questions, not just for ourselves, but also to our customers, and being more transparent and trying to be more credible about our commitments, we are showing our seriousness.
If I may also add, that you also have to consider the life under the sea. That's also a factor that has been highlighted, but no action has been taken so far. Carling, coming back to you gave some interesting this thing. You said we have only 16,000. There are about 1.8 million seafarers, and we are less than 1%. So there's a huge potential for us to penetrate this market. And also, I don't know what's our contribution on the female participation in this. According to the entire data, there are about only 2%, if I'm not mistaken. And that's also on the cruise shipping. So what's your take? Why have we not tapping these potentials?
First of all, I think you're very right. We only have about 1% of the global population of seafarers in Sri Lanka. And that is purely because I think how we have interpreted certain IMO directives and STCW manual, we've kind of taken a longer route. Now, with the marine HR policy coming into light, what we are looking at it is, we are looking at cutting certain training periods shorter, and thereby churn out and produce seafarers, quality seafarers within a shorter time. So this will hopefully help us to increase the numbers in the conventional side. But of course, as I mentioned, on the cruise side of things, it's very exciting. We are looking at about 150,000 jobs. Look at it like a floating hotel. You have different ranks, front office manager to accountant to masseurs to everything. So we also have to look at all of those in entirety to grow this 16,000 to about 15,000. And then coming to the female question, I think we are compelled to go down that route as Sri Lanka because, if you look at the ratio, it's 3-to-1 today. And Sri Lanka Ports Authority has come up with a very good plan and a blueprint, if I may use the word, where they have trained a lot of gantry crane operators. In the training side of things for seafarers, we've also taken baby steps in this. ILO has recently concluded the training program where out of 25, 3 female seafarers took part, and now they're actually firmly placed on board. And previous to that, a German ship owner tried this in Sri Lanka, and they are all placed on board. But we've also seen a rapid increment in terms of enrollment from female participants. So this is essentially a route that we will take, but we will encourage through media, and we will also go to different schools and encourage females to take up this profession as well. But I think let me finish this answer. Having the right policy in place is the key, because that brings in participation, that brings in involvement. So it's of essence.
Thank you. I'm sure Mapola will take note of this as well. The floor is open. I have been instructed by Rohan to delight the audience. So please, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. And we have only 10 minutes more. I can take 1 or 2 questions from the audience. Okay. Prem, I would like to contest on the automation. Yes, I agree. On trade facilitation, automation is a very important factor. But taking this viscose agitation against automation into consideration, don't you think that we often think the technology and automation is related to progress? But after looking at so many evidence, I mean, this is the case study from the viscose ports around the world. There's not a win-lose. There's only a win-lose issue, but there's never a lose. This is just a lose-lose issue for both workers and the American public. This is what the outcome of the Economic Roundtable final report. In 2020, according to UNCTAD, there were only 936 ports around the world, and only 4% has been automated. So, I mean, what is the RE? Is it only by automating you are going to facilitate your customers from the sea end, that is the shipping line? Because that's a cost comes with that, the unemployment, especially in these trying times. Do you think that's the right thing? Of course, again, trade facilitation you have to strike a balance between the human values and also the automations.
It's quite a long question, so I will have to take some time to answer it. Especially the situation in US West Coast is actually not comparable to any other region. It's a unique place, where you have a major location that controls a large share of the east-west route traffic, right? And don't forget that we are talking about gateway ports. This is why I was very, emphatic on the fact that we as hub ports cannot take it easy. Now, US ports are not the most efficient in the world. Yet, if you look at the numbers employed there, I have already said this, right? You have 35,000 men in 41 ports, each port having less than 1,000. And they are agitating to keep that number of employment. So you should not compare that. They are already reduced, critically reduced. And this issue came out due to LBCT, the fully automated Long Beach Container Terminal. The recent addition, it's a fully automated one. So naturally they feel threatened because it literally becomes almost zero. We are not looking at similar situation. We are not looking at full automation. And also don't forget that although this study talk about a small percentage of automation, they are only referring to the second category I mentioned, automation of physical operations. Yes, but automation of the processes, digitalization is also automation. Think about how much of documents people carry. We talk about 22 documents in place today in Colombo, right? Correct. So we are there. How much the digitalization has contributed to us improving lives of people, saving costs, enhancing employment elsewhere, right? So this situation in US West Coast is a specialized one because they can afford to have ships waiting. They have situations where ships waiting most of the time, not due to automation, due to other reasons as well. So as I said before, you have to consider the overall impact of automation, improving efficiency, eliminating delays and so on, eventually resulting in a a large gain which can be shared by all in the trade.
Don't you think upskilling and reskilling also has to be looked at?
True, but let's not forget the fact that all those youngsters who are coming out of educational institutes today are well versed on latest technologies. They can just, the guy who plucks coconut uses a cell phone. He uses the WhatsApp, right? So it's not a challenge really. It's no longer a challenge. And to emphasize the fact, if we need to get more women into maritime industry, this is the way forward. You cannot ask a pregnant lady to climb 60 foot on a monkey ladder. It will never happen.
Thank you. Thank you. Our time is up, and I would like to thank Kalinga, Prem, my personal mentor, and Mayrika, and my good friend Kavan for your time. Thank you very much, gentlemen and lady. Wonderful lady.